Chapter 11, Mishnah 7. This Mishnah considers the case of a dog that ate a piece of a human corpse and then died. Part of the dead dog is inside a house, and part is outside. The Mishnah cites several opinions about when the piece of corpse inside the dog spreads tumah throughout the house and when it does not. If a dog ate the flesh of a corpse and then died, and its dead body is lying across the threshold of a house, with its neck and head inside the house and the rest of its body outside, hence the swallowed piece of corpse, which is inside the animal's stomach, is outside the house. Rabbi Meir says that if its neck is a tefach wide, it brings the tumah from the dog's stomach into the house. Since the neck is a tefach wide, the dog's neck is an ohel, through which the tumah passes from the stomach into the house. But if its neck is not a tefach wide, it does not bring the tumah into the house, because the neck is too narrow to be an ohel through which the tumah can pass. The next Tana refers to a case where a dog's neck is narrower than a tefach, and yet he rules that the tumah can enter the house. Rabbi Yossi says that we check where the tumah, the piece of the corpse, is located. If the tumah is from the doorstep inward, i.e., it is inside the house becomes tameh, because the tumah penetrates the top of the animal according to the law of tumah ritzutza and spreads throughout the house. But if the tumah is from the doorstop outward, i.e. it is outside the house is tahor. In this case, the tumah would have to pass through the dog's neck to enter the house, which it cannot do because the dog's neck is narrower than a tefach. The next Tana speaks of a case where the dog's neck is narrower than a tefach and the swallowed piece of the corpse is outside the house. Nevertheless, he rules that it is possible for the house to become tameh. Rabbi Eliezer says that if its mouth is inside the house and its anus is outside, the house remains tahor. But if its mouth is outside and the anus is inside, the house becomes tameh, because the tumah exits through its rear, i.e. anus, which is inside the house. The swallowed piece of corpse would eventually have been excreted by the dog had it not died first. Thus, if the anus is inside the house, the tumah would have entered the house at that time. Since the tumah would have eventually entered the house, it is viewed as though it has entered the house. The next Tana adds that even if the dog's neck is narrower than a tefach and the tumah is outside the house, and only the mouth, not the anus, is inside the house, it is still possible for the house to become tameh. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says, whether the case is this or that, i.e. in all the cases mentioned above, the house becomes tameh. According to this Tana, even if only the mouth is inside the house, the tumah will spread throughout the house. Because tumah can leave the dog not only through its exit, the anus, but also through its entrance, the mouth. Once a piece of a corpse has been digested, it is like dirt, which is not tameh. Therefore, if the dog died after it digested the piece of the corpse, the house would not become tameh under any circumstance. The Mishnah defines how long the process of digestion takes. How long does a piece of a corpse remain in the dog's stomach before we could assume that it has been digested and therefore does not make the house tameh under any circumstance? 3 periods of 24 hours, which amounts to 72 hours. Thus, if the dog ate the piece of the corpse less than 72 hours before it died, the piece was not yet digested at the time of the dog's death. As such, it could make the house tameh in the circumstances mentioned above, as each Tana holds. But if it was eaten more than 72 hours before the dog died, it does not transmit tumah at all. And in the case of birds and fish that ate a piece of corpse, how long does the digestion take? Long enough to be thrown into a fire and become burnt. That is the short time it takes flesh to be consumed upon being thrown into a fire. These are the words of Rabbi Shimon. The next Tana disagrees regarding birds and fish. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says that in the case of birds and fish, the flesh remains undigested for 24 hours.